And today, we're using the free-to-play Metal Cooler on the LOE team. We start off at the beginning of the match, where we dodge Vegeta Blue's tackle, and then catch him out in a sidestep, and switch into Metal Cooler, and deal some great damage to the team. Now, with each strike or blast darts Metal Cooler uses, he applies a health restoration debuff to my opponent, which is great for units nowadays that have endurance, or just even heal after attack. And his damage, as you can see, is quite decent. We then get into a strike clash with my opponent's Super Vegito, which we win. Use the strike arts. And then another, our main ability, and then our blue card, taking him out. We then perfect vanish the android's green card after using a green card of our own. Use a blast arts, a strike arts, another blast arts, and then our blue card. Again, dealing some very decent damage. I then mistime a blue card with Cooler, allowing my opponent to combo me, which I thought would have been a big problem as my opponent switched into Android 18. But even type disadvantage, Metal Cooler tanked quite well. We then use the blast darts as my opponent quick stepped towards me, and then finish off the androids with Metal Cooler. Overall, I think Metal Cooler is a good unit for LOE, especially if you don't have Revival Freezer. And today, I've created one of the most annoying teams in Dragon Ball Legends, using two units who can apply team-wide paralysis and the androids. We start off dodging Spiritual Trunks' blast darts and immediately using a strike with Hercule. We then switch into the androids, who just wreak havoc on my opponent's team. We then are back in with Hercule, applying the team-wide paralysis, use our main ability to lock character switching, tackle my opponent, then dodge their attack, switch into the androids, and then use a blast darts, taking out my opponent's Ultra Super Vegito. We then tag switch into Android 18, my opponent gets paralyzed, and then we use Android 18 to take out my opponent's Spirit Sword Trunks. We then dodge the attack from the new LF Trunks. I mistime my attack, but it doesn't matter as my opponent gets paralyzed, and then we use Android 18 to take him out. And today, we're using a team that was once considered the best in the game, the Holy Trinity, now fully Zenkai awakened. We start off in a blast clash against my opponent's SSB Kaioken. He dodges my blast, I then dodge his attack, switch into Super Gogeta, drop my combo as my opponent switches into Vados, drop my combo again as he switches into SSB E Vegeta, and then take him out with Super Gogeta. SSB Kaioken then dodges my attack, we then dodge his attack, switch into Bardock, and then into Broly, use a blast darts, our main ability, and then a strike arts, which takes out my opponent's Vados. We then get SSB Kaioken to dodge, use our main ability, and then our ultimate, as my opponent mistimes his Rising Rush. We then switch into Bardock, get SSB Kaioken to dodge his strike arts, switch into Broly, use our main ability. I then wait a bit too long so my opponent can use some tap attacks against me. I then use the legendary mid-range strike, which works, and then a blast darts, and then our ultimate, taking out SSB Kaioken Goku. And today, we're triple Zenkai buffing Revival Gohan, while giving him Zenkai Bardock's buffs. We start off using some tap attacks to get my opponent's androids to dodge. We then dodge their attack, use a blast arts, a strike arts, and then our blue card, dealing some decent damage. We then switch into Bardock, dodge their attack, switch into Trunks, use his main ability, and then his blue card, which takes out the androids. We then Use a full screen strike against my opponent's cell as he's lost his vanishing gauge. Switch into Gohan. Use the blast arts, our main ability, a strike arts, our green card, and then our rising rush, which my opponent guesses and heals up quite a decent bit. We then use a blast arts as my opponent uses a full screen strike arts, and then use another charge step in the mid range, use our green card, dodge his attack, wait for him to sidestep, and then use a strike arts to take him out. Finally, we use our main ability, Pulse Revival with Gohan, to get a blue card, dodge my opponent's cell's blue card, and then get the legendary finish with BoJack Movie Gohan. And today, we're using the new red LF Final Form Cooler on the Lineage of Evil team. We start off getting his strike cover change, which in my opinion is one of the best looking in the game. We then dodge Trunks' attack after using our green card with Cooler. Now, when Cooler switches in, for the first time he uses the strike arts, he adds 2 sub count to all of your opponent's units, meaning you can chain 3 strike arts together before your opponent can switch. We dodge Perfect Cell's attack, wait for him to sidestep, use a strike arts with First Form Frieza, and then use a green card. We then switch into Cooler, use a strike arts, and then our blue card, which takes out Perfect Cell. We then dodge the legendary mid-range strike from Trunks, and then use our blue card to take him out. Cooler has very much impressed me so far. I played about 50 PvP games just today alone with Cooler. He's a very fun unit, and he's just what LOE needed. And today, we're triple Zenkai buffing the new LF Cooler while using him alongside Tapion. We start off at the beginning of the match, where we dodge Bardock's attack, and catch him out in a sidestep. We then switch into Cooler, drop our combo, as my opponent switches into his MUI. We get our 3 strike arts off, and then for some reason, my opponent doesn't switch out, allowing me to take him out with Cooler. We then use our main ability with Tapion, and then our green card. Get him to dodge, then dodge his attack, use a strike arts with Tapion, and then another, switch into Cooler, use a strike arts, another, a blast arts as my opponent switches into Fascia, and then a rising rush to take out Fascia. We then use our main ability, dodge Bardock's tackle, wait for him to sidestep, and then use our ultimate to get the legendary finish with LF Cooler. And today, we're using the new Final Form Cooler alongside Purple Whis on a purple-red-red team. We start off tackling my opponent's Super Vegito, who then switches into Trunks. He dodges my strike arts, we then dodge his attack, and then get into a nice combo with Cooler, dealing some good damage to my opponent's units. We then use a blast arts as my opponent Trunks uses his main ability. We dodge his strike arts with MUI, switch into Cooler, use his green card, dodge Trunks' attack, and then use 2 strike arts to take him out. We then use another green card with Cooler, get my opponent's Ultra Super Vegito to dodge, we then dodge his green card, and then use a few strike arts. We then use our main ability, and then our ultimate, as my opponent switches into his androids. Who is taken out by Cooler. My opponent then takes out Cooler with his Rising Rush. We then use our main ability to get our ultimate with MUI Goku. We then get Super Vegito to dodge using some blast darts. We dodge his ultimate, and then use our ultimate to get the legendary finish on Ultra Super Vegito.